Hi, welcome to Smokin with Swami. I'm Swami Chaitanya, and
Hi, I'm Nikki Listretto.
and Tipu the Wonder Dog is here
the
today.
Wonder Dog is dressed up for the autumn cold, and we have Kristin Nevedal here today. And Kristin is the chairperson of the International Cannabis Farmers Association, a very important group up here in the Emerald Triangle.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome. And also, Kristin was the founder originally of what was known as the Emerald Growers Association, which after she left morphed into the California Growers Association. And then after that, she established the ICFA, International Cannabis Farmers Association. And so she's been very active on state level and in Humboldt County level and all over. Very, very important person in our whole collective cannabis community.
Well, and what we really love about it is sun-grown.
Blush.
I know, we're making you blush. I love it.
And
She's brilliant. But she really honors sun-grown cannabis, and
Right.
that is so dear to all of our
Yeah.
hearts.
Our hearts.
So we really honor you for doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Thank you.
So can you tell us a little bit about the International Cannabis Farm and its mission?
Absolutely. So the International Cannabis Farmers Association, we officially formed in 2017, and our mission is to empower the traditional cannabis farmer through research, education, and advocacy. So we chose the word tradition because we feel like part of the sun-grown component is getting this plant back into the ground, right? Back into a position of it being farmed for human consumption. And I think we've strayed away from tradition as we've kind of moved into prohibitionary regulatory models, right? It's not traditional to cultivate cannabis under lights or in an all-season setting.
Right.
So-
Well, we went indoors being forced by persecution from the law enforcement authorities, and it just seemed easier and safer to go indoors. But the best cannabis is clearly always grown
Always grown outdoors.
outdoors in the sun. And so now what is the kind of scope of the activity now of the International Cannabis Farmers Association?
Yeah, that's a big.
Yeah.
International, right?
Yeah, why is it international, first of all?
Well, part of why it's international is because, like, over the last 9 to 10 years that I've been working on sun-grown advocacy, we went from being the Humboldt Growers Association, right, which originally formed to help farmers in Humboldt realize an opportunity to cultivate cannabis outdoors through a permitting process, and then also to educate and promote sustainability. Well, lo and behold, we ran into Mendo Grown at the same time. And so then I joined both boards and we were doing all this work together. By the time 2012 rolled around, right, I felt like I was playing telephone. I was like, okay, I'll get on this Humboldt Growers board call.
Yeah.
And then I'll relay all the information back to Mendo Grown on the Mendo Grown board call. And then I'll relay all of it back, right? And it was like, why are we not working together? PAC versus Long Beach had happened. Local permitting wasn't going anywhere come, 2011 or so.
They just eliminated the zip tie program here in Mendo. They were going to arrest
That was
us.
in 2012.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
was horrible. So we're all kind of tired and we're all doing the same work. And we're like, it would be so much more efficient if we were one organization. So we merged Humboldt Growers Association and Mendo Grown in 2012 to form Emerald Growers Association, and we kept the sun-grown sustainability, public policy, and education mission alive through that organization. And what we learned kind of going forward was, while Emerald Growers Association had a lot of ability to do California-wide work, right, we were running into sun-grown farmers out of Oregon and out of Washington, and then in 2015, when I left Emerald Growers Association and took a job with Americans for Safe Access, working on the patient-focused certification, I had a great opportunity to work in public policy on an international level. Not just in the United States, but we were tracking Canada, a lot of European public policy.
Great.
Really kind of watching what was happening with hemp production and CBD and what became kind of horrifyingly obvious to me was that if we look at public policy on a global level, we have two sets of public policy, right? We have one that regulates what we would think of as hemp or fiber type cannabis production, and then a whole nother slew of regulations and guidelines and programs that regulates
Right. Psychotropic.
Yeah, so we would call that
Medicinal.
maybe broadly medicinal or drug type
Right.
cannabis production, right? Cannabinoid production.
There we go.
Right?
That's good. That would be the good word. Yeah.
Cannabinoid production versus fiber or seed or oil production.
Right.
So cannabinoid production programs, about 90% of them require that product be cultivated indoors or, to a lesser extent in an all-season greenhouse. And those public policies are really based on prohibition. It's an out of sight, out of mind,
Right.
out of olfactory, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Policy that's been put into place. And so over the years, I was with ASA for about 2.5 years, and I just kind of felt like with everything changing in California, I just kept getting drawn to coming back home, right? And getting back to not bogarting
It's something we all fall into, that's for sure.
I wanted to get back to working really laser focused on sun-grown advocacy. Even our board is diverse, so we have a number of farmers on the board. Our board is all female.
Yeah, I wanted to bring
right.
that out.
Oh, I
this
love that
is
part.
the cannabis thing. This is
We have an all-female board, and we didn't set out with this idea that we would create this all-female board. It just is, it's really, these women are passionate.
But let me tell you, they get things done. It's like amazing the amount of information they put out and so on and so on. Yeah.
So we have an all-female board, and a few of them are farmers, some of them multi-generational, but we also have a social scientist on the board and an environmental scientist on the board. And I'm not farming anymore. But I can be the public policy nerd on the board.
You're farming farmers right now, actually. You're cultivating farmers.
So the farmer doesn't really have the money to fund the work that needs to happen.
Right,
I think that we know that right now.
Right.
Unless we can accomplish tax incentives, we can take a lot of burden off, we can reduce barriers to access, to entry into the regulated marketplace. They don't have the resources.
They're just strapped.
But they need to bring their voice to the table. So how do we, as an organization, kind of look at maybe non-traditional sources? And what I mean by that is, ICFA has not just an agricultural mission. We have an environmental mission, right? We really want to encourage educational programs and opportunities for farmers that bolster their ability to cultivate their crops within the carrying capacity of the properties that they're on, right?
Right.
Support their broader ecosystem, right? Not just on a cultivation practice, but on humanitarian, like, so how do you interact with your staff and your workers and create a very healthy work environment, and then how does that kind of radiate out to the community? It's really important that the folks don't look at the standards as being set in stone. They are a flexible, somewhat moving target. They should.
But see, that's what I've learned about this whole process we've been in for the last umpty years in terms of politics and policy and so on, and even within our own organizations too. It's never finished. It's never fixed, right? And a bill can always be amended. A new referendum can always be put up. Someone could, revoke this and that and the other. So, once again, there's an ancient phrase which says, the price of freedom is eternal vigilance. And we just have to be on it all the time and making sure you pay attention to the little details, the little words. Is it a comma or is it a period? That's important stuff, believe it or not. And it takes everybody.
Where'd you get that one from?
I did not make it up. But what I'm trying to say is it's all the people involved who are paying attention and contributing and making it happen, and that's what it's all about.
Well, the year-end report is really interesting because it does go through all of the regulatory highlights. It goes through all of the legislative highlights from the previous year. It also, we did do an environmental survey, right? We haven't compiled all the information from that, but and it's still been open.
Right.
So we really felt like it was important to assess and ask farmers to help us understand how much water they're using, and not just outdoor. Right?
But see, this is very important for the appellation thing too.
All types, yes.
Right.
And so we're looking forward to getting some of that data out to the public. In the year-end report, we shared all of the consumer survey information.
Right.
That data that I
No,
can
I was
look
very
at
impressed with your
was-
report. That was a
was
good thing.
really, it's in there and it's fascinating.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So we'll be able to hopefully get some environmental information into the next report because we did the survey over the last year, and
And eventually this information will filter up to the state as well, because they don't really have any data either.
It's interesting. That's a really interesting comment, because what we did is we printed as many of these reports as we could. We shared them on our Whistle Stop tour this year. We visited farmers in just about every licensed outdoor licensed area in the state. We gave the earned report out, which includes the grading and sorting rubric. It includes an international appellation of origin research proposal, right? It includes a 1 acre internet economic analysis, right? Kind of looks at the issues around taxation, and that really laid the groundwork for us to then have the conversation about tax incentives this year, which we plan on having again next year.
Yeah.
And what I noticed in legislative offices this year is everywhere that we had given the or shared the report, a lot of the staffers that work on the cannabis issues had hole punched them and put them into binders. I mean, it was rich with data.
Really,
great.
absolutely,
So
and that's what
numbers
they
really
haven't
helped
had.
us
Great.
That's
understand.
now we need to get similar data to Fish and Wildlife and the Water Resource Board, so they can make really intelligent decisions. Yeah. Any,
Wow, well, this has been just fascinating.
we could go on because
I
we
know.
keep diving deeper on
No,
this stuff.
thank you so much for
yeah,
you know,
thank
all
you,
the work
really.
you're doing for
Yeah.
us and
Yeah,
everybody else
really.
in this community, and how you find the time for it all is just beyond me. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for participating.
And then for coming on to Smokin with Swami, even more.
Yeah, it's been
so.
a pleasure. It's been a
Okay.
beautiful place.
Anyway, thanks again, and join us for the next time when Smoking with Swami.
Hey, Tipu's waking up to say goodbye.
Yeah. Hi, Tipu. Tipu. Hey. Hi, Tipu.